specialization within, oftentimes within government themselves. They have to make decisions based on outreaching and getting the information from outside. Obviously, in the arguments that we make to everybody, particularly government again, it's about efficiency, it's about delivery, it's about gathering all the knowledge that is already there in your community, quite frankly. Network governance, also sort of in the idea I spoke earlier about engaging people, and obviously in your respective provinces, you're probably seeing that more and more. Government is going outside, trying to get more information, trying to develop capacity to make those decisions in-house. And again, we think that the more we link civil society and government, the better decisions will be taken. And the in-house capacity is just not there anymore. It just isn't. Even I was surprised when, I'm going back to that meeting with the 25 directors of policy, where they sort of acknowledge right away. And actually there was one woman in the room who was on the verge of retirement, and she felt a little more free to talk to us about the inadequacies of policy development within the government, and I'm sure it applies everywhere. I don't want to say New Brunswick is behind others, maybe it is. But she was very, very clear, unequivocal. We need the research from universities. We need the research from community groups also. I haven't spoken much about it. It's just that in New Brunswick there's not much capacity there, but they do research. They will take the census data and they'll crunch it through their problematics, through their numbers. So that also obviously counts for a lot. So we have a forum coming up, actually next week. I have to scoop back to New Brunswick quickly after this. Oops. So we're bringing these people in the same room for the first time. They're on our database. They talk to us one-on-one. We've preached the gospel to them for half an hour. They're excited. Now we're bringing them together. So that's going to be quite exciting. So far, what's been interesting, the government from response is off the charts. We had to stop registration from government. There's just too many. We're going to be about 150, 175 depending, but 150-ish. And academics, a little harder. It's a Friday, they're teaching. I understand there's some, all sorts of issues, but bring them to that table. It's going well. We're maybe at 50 or 60% of registrations that we've targeted. And community group, it's been going well. We've added support. I mean, you might say this is a detail, but we have like a traveling pool, and we're supporting them to have access to this moment. So that's helping a lot. And we're going to start talking. And essentially, our forum has 3 moments. The first moment is everybody here from Newfoundland? The Harris Center. Mr. Greener from the Harris Center, which is a public policy structure, which the government of Newfoundland uses quite a bit. It's in Memorial. There are little easier elements there because government is in St. John's, Memorial is in St. John's, they're building links. So the director of the Harris Center will be launching this, and we think it's a model. I don't know if it's been used in the world of literacy or education.
It's being used, but it's not being taken up by academics very much. Well, I mean, they're registered, but we're not seeing a lot of the interaction going on right now.
It's more government that's using it, our community groups?
No, that's the absence there. The expertise knowledge is just not getting shared.
So the model of the Harris Center we think has potential. That's sort of when I read it, that's sort of where we want to go. Again, it's one university, one government, same town. Still challenges, obviously, but what you're underlining. So that's the conference to shoot things off, and then we're going to have people from government. The president of ACOA, which is our regional economic development structure, is there. We have somebody from UPI. We're getting sort of a pan-Atlantic view of what are the challenges to bring these people together. And then the next day, when participants are starting to do the work, first session is barriers, challenges, and it's the conversation we've had together this morning. Why would I, academic, work with government? Why not? Why would government? Another issue I haven't, actually it's a very important one. Government thinks that research takes 5 to 10 years. They want an answer in a month. So that's been very often in our conversations with them is that, yeah, academics are really nice, you guys are building knowledge, it's all theoretical. I need an applied answer on this elder care home in 2 months. Can you do that? So of course there's adjustments on both sides. That's the first session on barriers. The second one is what is the state of research? We took 6 subjects in New Brunswick. They're defined very wide. One is learning, as I said earlier, so it's early childhood to post-secondary, healthcare, le vieillissement, aging, economic development, and growth, which also takes in our population, demographic issues, immigration issues that we don't have almost no immigration. And government delivery services. How can government deliver services more efficiently? Sort of bringing interdepartmental collaboration. Yeah, I think that makes sense. Learning. So the state of research and those 6 elements, and then in the afternoon is what do we need? What are the important questions in New Brunswick on those issues? So it'll be a start, and for us it'll be kind of a mini roadmap to what we're going to do in the next year, and we're quite excited about it. I think that is my official last slide. No. So this goes back to our core objectives, linking decision makers with the knowledge that's out there, creating evidence-informed public policy. Trust me, anytime you'll say, yeah, we're helping you create evidence-informed public policy, you'll get a very attentive ear from government policymakers. So I'll quickly bring you online, and that'll be, we can go to questions, obviously. Now, the internet was not, I was kind of cheating. I'm on a Wi-Fi because there's no really internet for the conference. So this is what our database looks like. I've logged in already, so it's not super high-tech yet. By the way, we launched the forum, the research network, in August. So we've been alive for like 2 months. So be a little indulgent on the visuals and the coolness of our internet site. So essentially, like I said earlier, you can log in as informed community, individual or groups, academia, researcher, or a consumer. Consumer essentially, it's kind of mostly government, but we think that community groups will also want to consume or ask for research to be done in their sector. So what's cool about this is that you can really filter. So this is the database. It has 217 people this morning. So you see researchers, informed community, these are all people in the research community. What you can also do is display profile matches. So when I registered, I said I'm poli-sci. That's some stuff we need to tweak actually, is that we use the SSHRC categories, and they're not perfect. For example, we realized right away that health was not really there because they get essentially funded from the National Health Institutes, right? So we had to add some of our own stuff. We realized quickly that official language wasn't there, and we had a lot of people doing research on minority groups and official languages. Some of the Aboriginal research stuff. So we really had to tweak it, but we had to start somewhere, so we started with... so display profile match. I'm Gino Leblanc. I've ticked off political science, ethnic studies, multiculturalism, official languages, stuff like that. So I can go there at any time, and if the internet works, it doesn't seem to be. Anyway, what it would do is give me everybody that's online who's checked off those boxes with their information, their publications, their CV. Okay, so with my very specific profile, right now I have these people who, some I know, some I don't. Essentially they're research, there's one community group member, and I can go to their, if I go to Chris Baker, I think he's from a private sector public, so I see all of his info, and this is all accessible from the internet. Research interests, his CV's not there yet. Discipline, subject area, profile notes. You can add notes to, I'm doing a project right now on this and this, and I'm interested in preferred language. And are you available for media contacts? For questions, because media can go there, also it's a place for media or government to get experts on different issues. So it's the beginning of our database. It's going to be somewhat intensive because it's self-administered, so we have a person that's going to be full-time on just making sure people update their stuff. I mean, that is obviously the big challenge. So that is the New Brunswick Social Policy Research Network. I hope that it's been somewhat useful for you. We're very young, as you can see. We might crash and burn in a year. We'll see. We have funding. Oh, I didn't talk about funding. Maybe I should talk about funding. We have 4 departments, provincial departments funding us. Social development in New Brunswick, which is a huge department. A lot of things is within social development, all social programs essentially. Education, which has 2 branches in New Brunswick, French and English. Health, and these are all deputy ministers that have decided to put, I believe it's $50,000 or $60,000. Health, and post-secondary training and labor, which is our department for, they've all put in money. And the 4 universities have also put money in the pot. So, and some community groups have also put money in the pot. So we're trying to get a 3-way partnership as much as possible for the funding also. And we have funding now for the next 12 months, and everybody's, this is an English word I didn't know before the summer, a nominal engagement also, so they kind of understand that it's also for 5 years. Does that make sense? Anglophones in the room? Yeah. A 1-year commitment and a nominal, is that a word? Yeah, okay. Nominal for 5. So we're trying to have a lifespan of at least 5 years, and then we'll see. So yeah, you had a question.
I was just wondering about, you talked about community groups as potentially being consumers or the roles that they might play. Do you have any sort of practice-based research approach where rather than researchers just looking at data would actually have case studies or some kind of, you know what I'm saying, that the community groups could be engaged within the research?
Absolutely. I think that's going to be one of the barriers between academia and community groups. I think next week at the forum, that is going to be in the sessions on barriers in the morning. I think that's one of the issues that's going to come up, is that you guys are, you know, I'm drawing a sketch here, but you guys are pie in the sky, theoretical. I also need information in my community on poverty, women in poverty, for example. And could you bring your questionnaire to ask those questions? Could you find, does that data exist?
Right. Well, in literacy, certainly, that kind of, hard data based on, adults in literacy programs, you're not going to get a lot of that data to do your analysis of.
Yeah. And what we hope is that if academics are willing not to just fly on the census stuff and fly on data that's already there, maybe they can start helping gathering their own data on all kinds of issues. I mean, we're having a big municipality governance problem in New Brunswick. Rural areas don't have governing structure, and there's not a lot of data it's out there, but it hasn't been organized at all. So the Association of Francophone Municipalities and the other Anglophone, and they're saying, hey, we gotta get that. I mean, it sounds simple to us if you're from the academic world. Yeah, you gotta prove it. But for them, it's always been sort of lobbying and political discourse, not really based on academic. So to your question, we'll be fostering or asking researchers to also develop an applied approach as much as possible. I think, it goes without saying, but we'll have to. But it's a challenge in New Brunswick for sure. And it's sort of those cultures too. Like when we did the editorial board meeting with the paper, that's the first thing that struck them, is that there's 3 cultures around the table. Almost, en français, des dogmes, des gens qui sont very much in their world and their parameters, and just breaking that. I mean, Andy Scott, our executive director, always says, like, if this was easy, it would have been done like 20 years ago, right? We'll already be there. But because it's going to be a challenge, we're jumping. Other questions? Yeah.
I'm wondering, how did you solicit participation of individual academics? Did you approach people, or did you go through departments?
Awesome question. Awesome question. So, we have 4 universities. Did you know that, not University of Moncton, that's how I found out, some universities have software within their graduate studies program, within everybody that gets funding is actually within the database. So for UNB, we can go and, I think it's Romero, is there somebody who administers the university here? No, it's a software. You punch in poverty, and you get a wonderful list of everybody who's gotten grants that on your campus, on your network, that touch poverty, any publications, the amount of money that the grant was, were there students working on this project, who these students are, did they have projects linked It's awesome. When I went to I'm sort of taking care of University of Moncton in particular, it's all file to file. It's a